I'm going through and making just a series of different types of diagrams, some with figure ground as like the main way to show what I'm trying to accomplish. So this is a little bit of a before some things are demoed, kind of illustrating how these railroad tracks and roads separate two different regions that want to be connected. And then going through and diagramming different routes. And in this one, I was really just exploring different ways to use the blending tools. And so if you go up to the top and you click on a layer, you can go and drop down and mess around with different blending tools, and that can really change the effect and the mood of the drawing. And if I just go back a couple, you can kind of just see how the screen updates as I go through and change those effects. And they can stack on top of each other. So here I have overlay on a color, which is affecting everything in the project. However, if I hold Alt, then I can assign it to just one layer that's below it. And if I hit Alt again and I'm clicking on the seam in between the two layers, that will unassign that. And then once again, apply it to everything below it in the layer stack. Then going through, I just organized my project in different folders based on the items, so they're easy to move around the screen. That's typically how I organize my Photoshop files, is based on groupings of how I would maybe want to move or resize something, so that way collectively all acts as one. And then going through, I did the blending techniques on the text, and I just was assigning colors in normal capacity to those texts. And so often what I like to do if I'm just playing around and don't know what I want, I'll click on the thing that I like. And then if I click up here and select what I want, now this box is highlighted. And then I can use the up and down arrow keys to cycle through. And that will allow me to quickly find out which blending techniques I like most and which ones match what I want to do. So it's definitely a realm of experimentation for me, but I'm encouraging that you do the same because you can do some really cool things with diagrams this way and make it a little bit more abstract or draw attention and almost highlight and make it fluorescent to different aspects that you want. So I ended up landing on this because I thought it kind of looked cool. And if you're familiar with Alex Hograph's, or I might be saying his name wrong, but Alex Hography or Alex Hograph, his work visualizing architecture is quite amazing. And so this one's kind of inspired by that. So shout out to Alex for all the work that he's done. And so here I'm bringing in a floor plan or a plan of this kind of bridge pavilion exposition center that's going to be proposed and tie into like an existing parking garage and kind of land in the site this way. And what I want to do, and this is what initially was brought in, was just this line work. And I exported this from SketchUp as a PDF. That way it's a vector file. And then I dragged it as large as I could to fit on the screen nicely. And what's nice about a PDF coming in is that the image quality doesn't lose its ability or its quality, I should say, as you scale it larger. And then once you have it to the size you want, then you would have to right click on it and say Rasterize Layer. And once that's rasterized, then what I did was I used the Polygon Selection Tool, which is up here. And if you don't see that, you just got to click and hold, and then you can find the Polygon Lasso Tool. And I clicked around the entire region here. And what's nice about this technique, though, is you can be just in white space. What I want to avoid is capturing lines I don't want, like this here. And in order to close a polygon with the Polygon Lasso tool, you either have to hover on the end or get close and hit enter, and then it'll close it for you. Control D to deselect that. Let's say you fall short of where you want to be. You can hold down the Shift key to add to your selection. There we go. And you can also hold down the Alt key to subtract from your selection with the Polygon Lasso tool, with any selection tool in Photoshop. And so once I get the outline of my building cropped out, then you hold down Control J, and that jumps a copy of your layer. So what I was able to do is jump a copy of my layer up onto its own layer. And then what I did is I kept that same selection box and And I can demo here with the square here real quick. I kept the same selection box, and then I deleted it out from my line work copy layer. So here's the whole thing in a nutshell. So I have my line work, and for the sake of time, I'm going to just demo this on this rectangle here. And I'm going to go through and just click around the border. I've closed it. Now I'm going to hit Control J to jump that layer. You can kind of see that something happened there. And then now if I turn off my line work, you can see that I have this copy jumped. If I turn that off and turn this one back on, you see it's still here. So now what I can do is with this layer, take my magic wand, highlight the outside of it, and then hit Control Shift I to invert my selection to get the inside of it. Then I'm going to turn that layer off so you can see just the selection that's there. I'm going to turn the line work layer back on, and then with this present, what I'm going to do is hit delete. Whoop, I have to be on the right layer. So let's see. Okay, so I have that selected. I'm on my line work layer. I'm going to click on my line work layer. Now I'm going to hit delete. Now it's telling me I can't do that because I didn't rasterize this yet, like I was talking about before. So I'm going to right click and say rasterize layer. What I like to do before I do that, and you can undo if you accidentally did, I like to duplicate it first. And once it's duplicated, I turn off that layer, and then now this one I'll rasterize. That way I have one that's pure from how I brought it in, and I keep that near the bottom of the stack, always with it off. And then with this layer on, I hit delete. Now that's rasterized, that deletes. And then now I have complete control over this layer independently. So with that independent, I'm going to hit Control D to deselect. Now I could say, okay, I want this line work all grayed out, or let's say I want it to be less prominent. So I'm going to just put it at 20%. And now what I've done is I've punched up the line weight or the thickness or the heaviness on this this element here, which is great. So I'm basically doing that technique on my building that's going to be up against this background here that's going on. So I'm going to just basically take that and dial that back to like a 20% opacity. I might even go 30. I'm not really sure. I'm going to play around with it, but I want to keep it pretty vague. I plan on labeling out these spaces for its program, as well as some different elevations. So I want to add a bunch of text to this, and I don't want this line work getting in the way of the readability of my diagram. However, I do want it there to help enhance the context of where this building lies. All right, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to save and subscribe. I'll talk to y'all later.